Some people wear masks so well you forget they're even wearing one until it starts to slip. I used to believe that trust was like glass. Beautiful, fragile, but as long as you handled it with care, it would last forever. My husband Daniel made me believe that. He was steady, composed, the kind of man who never forgot an anniversary, always knew the right words to say, always made me feel like I was the only woman in the world. I love that certainty. But certainty is a dangerous thing, because once you start to question it, even a little, it unravels faster than you can hold it together. The first crack wasn't a lipstick stain or a lingering scent of a perfume that didn't belong to me. No, Daniel was too careful for that. It wasn't a late-night phone call he ignored or a sudden shift in how he treated me. It was a whisper, a name, a single word muttered in his sleep. Maddie ... Software, familiar, intimate, a sound that should have meant nothing but instead meant everything. I froze. At first I told myself I misheard it. The name was close enough to our sons that maybe it was just a slip of the tongue, a scrambled dream. But then his lips curled, the faintest ghost of a smile appearing as he whispered it again. Maddie ... My stomach twisted. Daniel never called anyone by that name, not in front of me at least. I lay awake for the rest of the night, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing in circles. The weight of suspicion pressed down on my chest, suffocating, relentless. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe it was just a dream. Maybe I was being paranoid. Morning came too fast, sunlight filtering through the blinds as I dragged myself out of bed. The unease from the night before still clung to me like a second skin, but I pushed it aside. It was just a dream. Or so I thought. As I stood in the kitchen making breakfast, our son wandered in, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. His tiny feet padded across the hardwood floor as he climbed onto a stool, yawning. "Mommy?" he mumbled, his voice still thick with sleep. "Yes, sweetheart." I smiled, placing a plate of pancakes in front of him. Daddy talks funny when he sleeps. The word sent an eerie chill down my spine. "Oh!" I kept my tone light, stirring my coffee as casually as I could. "When did you hear Daddy talking?" "Yesterday, when he was napping on the couch," he said between bites. He was saying something real quiet, but I heard it. I swallowed, gripping my mug tighter. "What did he say, sweetheart?" He looked up at me with wide, innocent eyes. He said, "Maddie." My breath caught in my throat. "Who's Maddie, Mommy?" I tried to answer. I really did. But no words came out, because in that moment everything clicked. I hadn't imagined it. I wasn't being paranoid. Daniel hadn't just muttered that name once in his sleep. He had said it twice. Once in the dead of night, lying next to me, and once in broad daylight during an afternoon nap when he thought no one was listening. My son had heard it, and now I couldn't ignore it. My husband's mask had started to slip. The coffee in my hands had gone cold. I hadn't taken a single sip. The words my son had said that morning still looped in my head like a broken record. Daddy was talking funny when he slept. He said Maddie. I had laughed it off, reassured him with a smile, but inside, something had shifted. Daniel had said the name in his sleep, twice, once at night next to me, once during a nap, when he thought no one was listening. I moved through the rest of the morning on autopilot, watching him, searching for anything, any flicker, any hesitation, anything that would either confirm or dismiss the seed of doubt that had taken root. He acted the same, smiling as he kissed my cheek, sipping his coffee like every other day. But when I casually mentioned that he had been talking in his sleep, his reaction was just a second too slow, his laugh a little too even. Maddie? Never heard of her. Must have been a random dream. A lie dressed in silk. I didn't call him out, not yet, because I knew better than to confront him with nothing but suspicion. If there was something to uncover, I needed proof. That afternoon, I was folding laundry in our bedroom when I heard the faint buzz of his phone vibrating from the nightstand. Normally, I wouldn't have paid attention. Normally, I trusted him. But today wasn't normal. Daniel was always careful. His phone was locked, notifications private. But today, he had slipped. The screen lit up, and just before the preview disappeared, I saw it. M, a single letter. No last name, no context. My stomach clenched as my fingers hovered over the screen. A simple tap just a second too long, and the preview flashed again. I miss you. Are we still on for... The rest was cut off. I heard footsteps. My hands moved instinctively, placing the phone back in its original position just as Daniel walked in, looking at me with that same effortless charm, oblivious to the fact that I had just peeked behind his carefully constructed mask. "What are you up to?" he asked casually, pulling his tie loose. I forced a smile. "Just finishing up laundry." He nodded, kissed my forehead, and walked past me, reaching for his phone. I waited. 1 second, 2, 3. Then I saw it. The way his fingers tensed, the way his shoulders stiffened just slightly as his eyes flicked to the screen. He turned away, fingers moving swiftly. He deleted the message. He thought I hadn't seen it. He thought he was in control, but he was wrong. That night I lay awake next to him, staring at the ceiling, my thoughts spiraling. I had no proof, just a name, a text, and an intuition I could no longer ignore. I reached for my phone, not expecting anything, just trying to quiet my mind, but my pulse quickened when I saw it. A missed call. Unknown number. The call had come in earlier that evening, around the same time Daniel had received the message from M. My fingers hovered over the screen. My first instinct was to ignore it, but something about it gnawed at me. I clicked on the number, opening my messages. There it was. "I'm sorry, but you need to know the truth about Daniel. I can't stay silent anymore." My breath hitched. A cold wave of dread washed over me. Who was this? What did they know? And why, out of all nights, did they choose to reach out now? The message burned on my screen, the words staring back at me like an omen I wasn't ready to face. My fingers tightened around the phone as I read it again. "I'm sorry, but you need to know the truth about Daniel. I can't stay silent anymore." My heart pounded in my chest, a steady drumbeat of dread and anticipation. Who was this? And how much did they really know? I sat up in bed, glancing at Daniel. He was sound asleep, his breathing slow and even. I had spent the whole night watching him, searching for any sign of guilt, any flicker of unease. But there was nothing. He slept like a man with no secrets, no burdens. Or maybe he had just gotten too good at pretending. My thumb hovered over the screen. Should I respond? Call the number back? Every rational part of me said no. This could be a scam. A mistake. Maybe even someone trying to stir up trouble. But deep down, I knew better. People didn't send messages like this unless they had a reason. I typed out a response. "Who is this? What do you know?" Seconds passed, then a minute. Nothing. I exhaled, forcing myself to set the phone down. Maybe they got cold feet, maybe they were testing the waters, or maybe I had just imagined the whole thing, my paranoia twisting reality into something it wasn't. But then the screen lit up again. Unknown number. "Meet me tomorrow, noon. Coffee house on 8th, please. You need to hear this." I stared at the message, my pulse thudding in my ears. I had two choices. Ignore it, pretend like I hadn't seen it, and let this nagging doubt fester inside me. Or go. And I already knew which choice I was going to make. The next day, I left the house with a lie on my lips. "I'm meeting a friend for lunch," I told Daniel, pressing a quick kiss to his cheek. He barely looked up from his laptop, nodding absently. "Have fun, babe." He didn't ask which friend. He didn't even seem to care. That should have told me everything I needed to know. I arrived at the coffee house 10 minutes early, my nerves wound so tight I could barely breathe. The place was small, tucked away in a quiet corner of the city. Not the kind of place Daniel or his business partners would frequent. That made me feel a little better. I scanned the room, searching for someone who looked like they were waiting for me. And then I saw her. A woman. Mid-30s, well-dressed, but something about her seemed off. She was fidgeting with her coffee cup, her eyes darting toward the entrance every few seconds. When our gazes met, her face paled, and for a moment I thought she might leave, but then she took a deep breath and gestured for me to sit. "You're the one who texted me?" I asked, sliding into the chair opposite her. She nodded, fingers tightening around her cup. "I know this is weird, and I'm sorry, but I couldn't keep this to myself anymore." "Who are you?" She hesitated. "My name is Olivia." A pause, then in a softer voice, "I work with Daniel." My stomach dropped. "You work with him?" I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. She nodded. "Sort of. I mean, not directly, but I know him. And I know what he's been doing." A cold sensation crept up my spine. "What do you mean?" She exhaled shakily, finally meeting my eyes. Daniel and Maddie. They're not just business partners. They're lovers. And it's been going on for a long time. I felt like the air had been punched out of my lungs. I had expected something bad. I had prepared myself for the worst. But hearing it out loud, from someone who wasn't just a stranger making baseless accusations, made it feel real in a way I wasn't ready for. How do you know this? I forced out, my voice barely steady. She hesitated again, then reached into her purse, pulling out her phone. Because I have proof. She placed it on the table, and as the screen lit up, my world came crashing down. The phone lay between us, its screen glowing with damning truth. My fingers curled into my lap as Olivia hesitated, her thumb hovering over the screen before finally pressing play. A video. At first, all I saw was a dimly lit hotel hallway. The camera was shaky, moving toward a door at the end of the corridor. The timestamp in the corner was recent. Too recent. My breath hitched as the door cracked open, revealing two silhouettes stepping out. Daniel and her. Maddie. I knew it was him before his face even came into focus. The way he stood, the familiar way he reached back inside to grab his jacket. And then Maddie turned to him, laughing softly as she adjusted her dress. It wasn't just a casual exit from a business meeting. It was intimate. Too intimate. Then came the worst part. Daniel leaned down and kissed her. Not a quick, uncertain peck. A deep, slow kiss. The kind he used to give me. The kind that made it impossible to deny what I was seeing. The kind that shattered me. I clenched my jaw, swallowing the bile rising in my throat. My hands felt cold, like the warmth had drained from my body. Where did you get this? My voice was eerily calm, but inside a storm was raging. Olivia shifted uncomfortably, pulling her phone back. I work at the same hotel, she admitted. I didn't go looking for this, if that's what you're thinking. I overheard the staff talking about a regular couple that always books discreetly. At first, I didn't care. Affairs happen all the time. She hesitated, but then I saw him. A bitter smile played on her lips. He came in last week, holding hands with her like they owned the place. They were laughing, flirting, right in the lobby. And then I recognized him. I frowned. From where? She met my eyes, and for the first time I saw something personal behind her expression. From a company event a few years ago. My pulse pounded in my ears. What? She exhaled. I used to work with Daniel. Not directly, but we were in the same company for a while, and I remember meeting you at a corporate holiday party. I remember thinking how lucky he was. You looked so happy. You trusted him completely. Her voice turned bitter. And then last week I saw him waltz into my hotel with another woman, acting like the devoted husband I thought he was back then. That's when I knew I couldn't stay quiet. I felt my throat tighten. So you filmed them? She nodded. I had to be sure. I thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe they were just friends. But when I saw them again 2 days ago, I recorded it. I wanted to scream. I wanted to flip the table, storm out, and drive straight home to confront him. But I couldn't. Not yet. Why didn't you just send me this? I asked. She hesitated. Because it's not just this video. There's more. My stomach lurched. More? She nodded, pulling up an email on her phone. Reservations, receipts, dates that line up with times he told you he was on business trips. I swallowed hard, and my throat dry. And you met me in person because... She sighed, pressing her lips together before looking me in the eye. Because I've seen how this plays out. I froze. What do you mean? Olivia exhaled, running a hand through her hair, her expression shifting from hesitant to something heavier, something personal. Because I was you once, she admitted. I know what it's like to be lied to by someone you trust, to hear their voice in your head, convincing you that you're overreacting, that you're imagining things. And I know what it feels like to be the last to know. I blinked. You... She gave a small, humorless laugh. I was married. 5 years. I thought we were solid, just like you and Daniel. Until one day, I found out my husband had been seeing someone else for nearly 2 years. Her voice wavered, but she forced herself to continue. And the worst part? Everyone else knew. His friends, his coworkers. Some of them even pitied me, but no one said a damn thing. Not until it was too late, and I had wasted years of my life on a man who never respected me in the first place. She swallowed, her fingers tightening around her coffee cup. So when I saw Daniel at the hotel, I told myself I should stay out of it, that it wasn't my place. But then I remembered how it felt when I finally found out, how I wish someone had told me before I built my whole life around a lie. She looked up, meeting my gaze. I know you don't know me. I don't expect you to trust me, but I couldn't just walk away knowing what I know. You deserve the truth before it's too late. Silence stretched between us. I gripped the edge of the table, my mind spinning. I had suspected. I had felt it in my bones. But now, the betrayal was real, concrete, undeniable. And now, I had to decide what to do with it. I drove home in silence, my hands gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. The house was quiet when I walked in. Daniel was on the phone in the living room, his voice low and casual, like he wasn't hiding a damn thing. Yeah, I'll check those numbers first thing Monday, he was saying. A pause, then. You too, Maddie. My entire body went cold. He said it so easily, so naturally, like it was just another day, another call, like her name meant nothing to him when I was standing right there. He turned and saw me, flashing that same familiar smile. Hey, babe, how was lunch? I forced myself to smile back. Great, I lied, because I wasn't about to expose him yet. No, if Daniel thought he could lie so easily, if he thought I was just another fool in his carefully crafted game, then he was in for a hell of a surprise. I wasn't just going to confront him, I was going to destroy him. I'd spent weeks pretending to believe Daniel's lies, pretending to be the devoted wife while he snuck around, thinking he was untouchable. But tonight, the game was mine to play. And I wasn't playing fair. I wasn't going to confront him with tears in my eyes, demanding answers. I wasn't going to scream or beg for the truth. No, Daniel and his little secret were about to be exposed in a way he could never recover from. Because when you betray someone who's smarter than you, you don't just lose. You get destroyed. I need your help, I had told Chris, my best friend, a week ago. He was a cybersecurity expert, one of those people who could make things disappear online, or in my case, make things appear. He stared at me across the coffee table, his fingers drumming against his laptop. You sure about this? Oh, I'm sure. You know this isn't exactly legal, right? Neither is screwing someone else's wife, but here we are. Chris exhaled, shaking his head with a smirk. Damn, girl. All right, let's burn it all down. Chris didn't need long. Maddie was careless. Her passwords were weak. And with a little finesse, Chris slipped right into her social media accounts like they were his own. And that's where we found it. Photos, videos, flirty messages between her and Daniel that were just waiting to be used against them. What's the plan? Chris asked, cracking his knuckles. I grinned. We're going to let Maddie expose herself. The night before Daniel's supposed business trip, Chris logged into Maddie's account. He uploaded everything. The photos of her and Daniel tangled together in the hotel sheets, the messages where they laughed about how stupid I was, the receipts of their private dinners signed under Daniel's name. And then, with one final beautiful touch, he posted it all to her public timeline, not just to her profile, to her family, to her coworkers, to Daniel's coworkers. Every single person in her life, every person in his life saw the truth. Then Chris logged out, wiped every trace of the hack, and we waited. The next morning I sat across from Daniel at the breakfast table, sipping my coffee like nothing was wrong. His phone buzzed, then again, and again. I watched his expression shift. Confusion, then horror, then outright panic. What the hell? He muttered, scrolling furiously. I hid my smirk behind my cup. Something wrong? His hands were shaking as he dialed Maddie, straight to voicemail. He cursed under his breath and tried again. No answer. Then the texts started rolling in, from his boss, his friends, his mother. Daniel shot up from his chair, nearly knocking it over. I have to go. Go where? I asked sweetly. His jaw clenched. He didn't answer. But before he could storm out, his phone rang. Maddie. I casually leaned against the counter as he answered. Maddie, what the Daniel! Her voice was frantic. My account was hacked. I didn't post those pictures. You have to believe me. Silence. A deep, horrible silence. Because he didn't believe her. He had been caught. And no matter what she said, no matter how much she swore it wasn't her, the damage was done. His reputation? Ruined. His affair? Public knowledge. His perfect little world? In flames. Daniel turned to me then, something desperate in his eyes. You knew? I tilted my head, taking another sip of coffee. Knew what, sweetheart? His throat bobbed. He looked like he wanted to scream, but he couldn't, because what was he going to do? Accuse me of setting him up? Of hacking Maddie's account? Number he couldn't prove a damn thing. And that was the best part. He had lost everything, and he had no idea how it happened. I placed my cup down, smiled, and patted his cheek. Good luck fixing that, babe. Then I grabbed my purse, walked to the door, and left, while Daniel's entire life crumbled behind me. A week later, the divorce papers were finalized. No drawn-out battles, no last-minute pleas, just a clean, undeniable end. I was sitting at a cafe when I saw him. Daniel. He looked like a ghost of himself, wrinkled suit, hollow eyes, a man who had lost everything and knew it. For a moment our eyes met. I didn't smile, didn't gloat. I simply lifted my coffee in a silent toast and took a slow sip. He hesitated, like he wanted to say something. But what was left to say? I had already given him my answer. Without a word, he turned and walked away. And just like that, he was gone. I exhaled, feeling lighter than I had in years. No anger, no sadness, just freedom, and damn, it tasted good.